Hello and the warmest of welcomes to this a brand new episode of Mason Makes Music. I'm your humble host Miles Mason, and this is basically the show where we have a little bit of fun with the songwriting process. Now for today's episode I've got a little piano melody I've been working on for the last few days, but I definitely want to record some nice punchy drums and some bass guitar to go along with it. So it's going to be quite a diverse recording session today. So as with each week's episode, we have a concept behind the song, and this week's concept is that of patience. So without further ado, let's get straight into making some music, shall we? So as I mentioned, today I want to start out by recording this little piano piece that I've been drumming up, and essentially I'm going to be recording this directly into Machine. This is a fantastic bit of software that I really like for putting parts together, especially piano parts, and then I'm going to bounce this over to my main DAW of choice, which is Reaper, just to record my drums and bass and to mix it all together. And today I'm starting off by using a piano called the Upright Harsh, and this comes from the Gentleman pack. Made by Native Instruments, and it's an absolutely fantastic piano. It's got like a real ragtime feel to it and a lot of colour, a lot of character, and it's just one of my favourite piano sounds. Now I'm definitely going to be adding a little bit of effects to this. I'm probably going to add some phaser and a little bit of reverb or something just to give it a bit more colour and character and to allow it to blend in a little bit more with the drums. So right now I'm recording this at 109 BPM. I think it's a really fantastic BPM, especially for this kind of stuff. It's a level kind of subtle BPM, and it's one of my favourites. So I'm just going to start by recording this piece. Alright, let's give it a go. So that's a piece I wanted to get recorded so far. I'm probably going to give it a little bit of a tidy up in Machine. I don't like to quantize things too much. I'm just going to go through and give it a little bit of a fine tooth comb to check everything's alright. So let's get on to arranging. Alright, so now that we've got the piano piece down, I've done a little bit of just checking through to make sure everything sounds about right. Honestly, I really don't like to quantize things. I try to keep things as human as possible, particularly for these videos, because these videos are just about having fun with the process and not lumbering over things. I don't want to get too overburdened by any ideas or by any imperfections, you know what I mean? So right now I'm just going to add a little bit of effects to this and just show you what direction I want to take with that. So first of all, the first thing I'm going to add is 100% one of my favourite plugins that I've got, and this plugin is actually still free, I believe. Basically Native Instruments was giving this away for Christmas and I managed to cop it for free, and it's an absolutely fantastic phaser. I really highly recommend it, and I'll check actually if it is still available, and if it is I'll pop it down in the description for you guys to go and grab, and I definitely recommend it. So for this one I think I'm going to use the Modern Classic, but I'll try a few. Okay, so let's just try that. See how it instantly... Oh, let me just take that metronome off. Can you see how instantly it just makes it, for me, just more interesting? I'm just going to try a different one, actually. This one's really good. This is called Paranoid Humanoid. That might be a little bit much, but it's very cool all the same. Classic stereo. Actually, I quite like the Paranoid Humanoid. See how it just gives it so much more space, and it makes it so much more interesting for the listener, I feel, when you add a little bit of phaser, even to anything. I add it to bass guitar all the time, and it always has a really interesting effect. So the next thing I wanted to add, and this is again something I add to generally most things that I mix, and this is a plugin by a company called Waves, and it's called J370. And basically what it is it's basically a emulation of the old Abbey Road Studio tape deck that they used to record all the classic Beatles albums, all the Pink Floyd albums and stuff. And I just add this just because it generally adds a little bit of a more tape sound to things, and it just gives things a little bit more warmth. Now I know that warmth in this kind of community is kind of seen as a bit of a no-no word, but for me that's just the easiest way to describe it. Just gives it a bit more body. So let's try that now. This one's called Mastering Fat and Open. Generally really good. That's a mid-frequency enhancer, and this is like a high-end enhancer. I'm going to stick with that one, I think. I really like that. I'm really happy with the sound of that. I'm not going to do anything more to this whilst I'm in Machine. I might add a few more effects, like I said, some reverb or something, but I'll do that over in Reaper. So for now, the piano is done. Alright, so I've arranged the piano piece and I've bounced it over to my main DAW of choice. Today I'm using Reaper. Now, the thing I love about Reaper is it's so expensive and so accessible. Basically what it is a DAW or a DAW, and it basically allows you to record and arrange music. And the thing I love about this software is just how cheap it is. This is £60 for this software, which when you consider the price of like Ableton, that's £1,000, this is incredible value. And a big hats off to the guys who made it, because they made recording music super accessible for anyone who doesn't want to illegally download softwares. So as you can see here, I've got the piece bounced over, and what I've essentially done is I've doubled up the melody that I recorded earlier and just tidied it up a little bit. And I did think about adding a second piano piece to it just to diversify the sound, but honestly I'm really happy with this song as a repetitive driving groove, and to add to that groove I just want to add a little bit of bass guitar right now, so let's do that now. And what I'm going to do as well is I'll show you guys what I'm using for my tone on my bass today, once I've got my strap on, that is. Strap on. So the main thing I'm using here is a bit of software called Amplitude 4. Now this is a really fantastic bit of software that allows you to emulate a lot of classic bass and guitar amps, as well as effects pedals and stomp boxes. And it's a really fantastic bit of software for anyone who's into recording guitar and bass especially. And today I'm using the Ampeg SVT Classic. This is a really iconic bass sound. I mean, you've probably heard this on a ton of recordings, and you definitely will have seen it on a lot of live performances. This amp is just known for its fantastically warm presence, and that comes from the tube amps that they used to use back in the day. As well as that, I'm using one of the stomp boxes that's built into Amplitude 4. This is a tube compressor, and again this just adds a little bit more warmth to the tone. As well as this, I'm using the Nova 67 EQ, and as well as just the some Native Instruments EQ and dynamics that I've got, and a compressor there. So yeah, let's get this recorded. Let's check the levels are right. Cool. And let's record. Alright, so that's the bass recorded. There's a few more things I want to add to this song before we're finished. Next up, I'm going to do a little bit of synthesizer on the Roland, and then I'm going to finish up with some drums. So let's get straight to it, right? Alright, so one of the last elements I want to get recorded for this song is just a little bit of something on my microKORG synthesizer. Now this is an absolutely fantastic and relatively inexpensive analog digital synthesizer. You can get this for about £190 on eBay all day long. And essentially what I'm going to be using this for is just to capture some really nice synthesized string sounds. Just something to support the main melody. And essentially what I'm using the presets that come with it. One of them anyway, the Retro 8A. So this is a really nice kind of string sound, something you might be reminiscent of like a Prophet 6 or like a Yamaha CS80, just a really nice classic synthesized string sound. So I'm going to record that right now. Set up this recording. Let's do it. Alright, so that's that synthesizer section recorded. The only thing left to do now is record some drums, so I'll meet you over at the drum kit. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to get recorded today for this week's episode of Mason Makes Music, and honestly I can say it's been an absolute blast recording this video today. It's just been interesting to dive into the songwriting process and really bask in the spontaneity of creativity. As I mentioned earlier, I did have the piano piece written, but everything else I've just kind of come up with on the fly, and I could have spent a bit more time on some of the pieces. The drums, for example, I only did 4 takes of that, but as I said earlier, I didn't want to get too bogged down in any ideas, and I didn't want to get too precious about anything. I just wanted to make a song in a day and just be happy with the result. So the only thing left to do now is play the track through, but before I do, I just want to encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. I've got a ton of music related content coming, like some really amazing album reviews that I've been really excited to do for a while, and a lot more from this series. I really want to continue to develop this series and see where I can take it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Let me learn down in the comments what you thought of this song, and I'll just give it a little play for you guys. Enjoy.